The opening cutscene of a video game is a crucial moment for the developers to hook the audience into their world, with most serving as a tutorial. The often cinematic prologue sets the stakes and the tone of a game, with a special handful remaining memorable. From recent releases to games that came out over 20 years ago, many opening sequences stand the test of time and serve as a stellar introduction to a classic and beloved franchise. Here are some of the best opening cutscenes in video games, and yeah, obviously some spoilers ahead. An honourable mention and 10th place on this list goes to the recently released action RPG Diablo 4, with an opening cutscene that surprised veterans and newcomers alike, making every player's jaw drop. Joining a host of current games boasting graphics that rival the latest Avatar movie, this 8-minute cutscene is our first introduction to the Horned Beast when Elias summons Lilith into the Sanctuary. One of the most influential FPS franchises in history is of course BioShock. The very first game released in 2007 and delivered a harrowing opening cutscene that undoubtedly set the atmosphere of the Rapture. After his plane crashed in the Atlantic Ocean, protagonist Jack must seek refuge in a nearby lighthouse and use the bathysphere to enter the Rapture. The Art Deco expanse and the nail-biting monster that awaited awards this opening a respectable place on our list. Departing from Bethesda's darker graphics in Fallout 3, Fallout 4 was a massive upgrade on the technical front, but it also delivered a stellar opening cutscene and tutorial that elevated the franchise's atom punk aesthetic. Blending your character's customization with an introduction to Codsworth before the impending nuclear holocaust drove you into the Fallout shelter. Fallout 4's introduction was the perfect gateway for newcomers and a welcome return for fans of the point-and-click RPG days, making the fourth game a worthy entry on this list. Building on the success of Robert Kirkman's graphic novel, The Walking Dead, was the acclaimed AMC TV show, which in turn inspired Telltale Games to produce the point-and-click graphic adventure split into 4 seasons and 1 spin-off. The opening cutscene in Season 1 earns a place on this list for its heart-racing prologue. Introducing protagonist Lee Everett, who is being escorted by a sheriff, the cold open scene puts players on the front line of a zombie outbreak that demonstrates the difficult decisions and encounters that you'll have to face in every episode of the game series. Marvel fans were more than happy button smashing through pixelated buildings within the PS2 and Game Boy Advance Spider-Man games, but when Insomniac released their action-adventure entry in 2018, fans finally experienced what it felt like to really swing through New York as the superhero. The opening cutscene to Marvel's Spider-Man introduced us to a typical morning with Peter Parker, set to the tones of Warbly Jets' Alive before the Spider-Man suit was donned and the swinging began, which is an experience that just has to be mentioned, but sadly it misses out on the top spots. When you think of the saddest video game narratives, Ghost of Tsushima should come to mind, and it also delivers one of the best scores. In addition to these feats, our introduction to the fearless Jin Sakai and his stance against the Mongols was spine-tingling stuff. Sucker Punch's game also contests for the best title reveal, as the words appear when the titular ghost and his horse are galloping through the unearthly fields. The style of the game set a visual precedent for titles of this ilk going forward, and the prologue's ability to make hairs stand on end awards it 5th place. If we're talking about one of the most iconic opening cutscenes in video games, then The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim takes the medal. It's also the prologue that inspired one of the most popular memes on the internet, and paved the way for more Elder Scrolls memes to come. Beginning your journey on the back of a cart, greeted by the sight of Ralof exclaiming, "Hey, you're finally awake," will never get old within the community. Thanks to the popularity of this opening scene, Skyrim takes 4th place. Releasing years after the classic The Legend of Zelda games, Breath of the Wild was a new frontier that had every fan on the edge of their seat, and the opening cutscene was a surreal and impactful introduction to the new and improved Hyrule. After receiving the Sheikah Slate, Link is able to step out of the temple and into the wild, initiating a cutscene of the protagonist gazing out onto the lush expanse while the main theme and title rolled. This introduction earns 3rd place on our list. While some opening cutscenes give you a big dopamine rush, others are hell-bent on traumatizing you before the game even begins, and Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 1 lies in the latter camp by introducing you to protagonist Joel and the heartbreak he experiences. Once the Cordyceps virus is in full swing within Texas, Joel must escape the chaos with his brother Tommy and daughter Sarah. However, spoiler, the shocking murder of his daughter sets up Joel's world-weary persona 20 years later, and the emotion packed into the opening sequence is hard to contest at second place. If an opening scene can get you battle ready, intrigue you to explore the politics and creatures of a suppressed city, and get your foot tapping at the same time, then it belongs in first place on our list, and that's exactly what Final Fantasy VII achieved. Repeating the same feat in high definition within Final Fantasy VII Remake, the adrenaline rush as Cloud rides the train with Avalanche, Buster Sword ready, to face a group of Shinra soldiers is unmatched. It's now known as an air-punching introduction to one of the greatest games ever made. And that is our list. Of course, there are many great games with some really great intros, so why not share your favourites down in the comments? While you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already done so, and give the bell icon a nudge so that you're notified whenever we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, my dears.